What if the greatest lessons for the later years of life were already spoken more than 2,500 years ago by the Buddha himself? Many people believe that wisdom comes naturally with age. But the truth is, without reflection, age can pass us by without giving us deeper insight. The Buddha taught through simple yet profound stories, each carrying a lesson that becomes especially powerful after the age of 60, when life slows down, when relationships shift, and when the meaning of our days becomes more important than the number of them. In this video, we will journey through 6 timeless stories of the Buddha. Each story is like a lantern, illuminating the path for those who are entering the later stages of life. These are not just parables of the past, they are guiding truths that speak directly to how we can age gracefully, let go of regrets, cultivate compassion, and discover peace of mind. By the end of this video, you will learn why letting go is the secret to inner freedom after 60. How compassion heals both yourself and those around you. Why change and impermanence, often feared, are actually gifts. How to live without clinging to the past, and how to face the future without fear. And most importantly, how the Buddha's wisdom can transform the years after 60 into a time of deep purpose and serenity. So let us begin with the first story. 1. The story of Angulimala, the power of transformation. Angulimala was feared across the land. A ruthless bandit, he had taken many lives and wore a garland of fingers as a symbol of his violence. Villagers prayed to be spared from his cruelty. One day, as he roamed the forests, he saw the Buddha walking calmly along the path. Angulimala chased after him, but strangely, no matter how fast he ran, the Buddha seemed always ahead, moving at a serene pace. Finally, breathless, Angulimala cried out, "Stop, ascetic!" The Buddha turned and said gently, "I have stopped. Have you stopped?" Confused, Angulimala asked what he meant. The Buddha replied, "I have stopped harming all living beings. You, however, have not." Those words pierced Angulimala's heart more deeply than any weapon could. Something within him awakened. He fell to his knees, renounced his violence, and became a disciple of the Buddha. Though the villagers at first distrusted him, Angulimala dedicated his life to compassion, even helping women in childbirth, the very opposite of his former cruelty. This story reveals the extraordinary power of transformation. Even the most violent heart can awaken to peace. For those over 60, the lesson is profound. It is never too late to change. We may carry regrets, guilt, or mistakes from our past, but the Buddha's teaching assures us that transformation is always possible. Our later years can be a time of repair, of softening, of choosing kindness where once we chose anger. Like Angulimala, we may not be able to undo every action of our past, but we can plant seeds of healing now. By offering compassion, by helping others, by living gently, we transform not only our own life, but also the memory we leave behind. At 60 and beyond, every day becomes a chance to stop running from ourselves and to walk calmly, like the Buddha, toward peace. 2. The story of Kisagotami, learning to let go. There was once a young woman named Kisagotami, whose only child had died. Heartbroken, she carried her lifeless child through the village, begging for medicine that could bring him back. Some thought she had gone mad, but others, moved by compassion, guided her to the Buddha. The Buddha listened to her grief and said, "Yes, I can help you. But first, bring me a mustard seed from a house where no one has ever died." Desperate, she knocked on every door. Everywhere she went, families shared their stories of loss: a father, a mother, a sister, a son. Slowly, she began to see the truth. Death had touched every household. Her suffering was not hers alone. Returning to the Buddha empty-handed, she finally understood the impermanence of life. She buried her child and became a devoted disciple. For those of us after 60, this story carries a tender reminder. Life brings inevitable losses: friends, family, health, and even our own vitality. The pain is real, but clinging to what cannot return only deepens the suffering. Kisagotami's journey shows us that grief transforms into wisdom when we recognize that loss is a universal experience. The Buddha's teaching here is not about denying pain, but about letting go of the illusion of permanence. When we hold on too tightly, we suffer. When we learn to release, we open to peace. After 60, letting go becomes an act of courage. We are not abandoning love or memory, we are simply allowing life to flow as it always has. Just as Kisagotami discovered, freedom lies not in changing what has happened, but in changing how we hold it. 3. The story of the old monk and the empty bowl. Finding contentment. Once, during the Buddha's lifetime, there lived an elderly monk who had spent many years in the monastery. In his youth, he had joined with great zeal, but as he grew older, he became restless. He looked at the younger monks, strong and energetic, and thought to himself, "I cannot meditate as they do. I cannot walk as far on alms rounds. My memory is not as sharp. What is left for me?" One day, filled with doubt, he sat alone with his empty alms bowl, thinking that his life had lost its purpose. When the Buddha came to see him, he gently asked, "Why do you sit here in sorrow, with your bowl empty and your heart heavy?" The old monk confessed, "I feel useless, Blessed One. I cannot do what I once did. I am no longer of value." The Buddha looked at him with deep compassion and replied, "Do you see this empty bowl? It may appear of no use, but when filled with rice, it sustains life. In the same way, your presence is a vessel for wisdom, patience, and compassion. These qualities are not measured by youth or strength, but by the heart." The old monk wept with relief. He understood that his worth was not gone, it had simply changed. From that day forward, he became known as a source of comfort for the younger monks, teaching them by example how to age with dignity and peace. This story carries a precious lesson for those over 60. In a world that often values productivity and physical strength, it is easy to feel less important as our abilities change. But the Buddha reminds us that our value does not disappear with age, it transforms. Our worth lies not in how much we can achieve, but in how deeply we can be present. Younger generations need the wisdom of patience, the calm of perspective, the strength of compassion, qualities that ripen only through time. The empty bowl becomes a symbol of openness. When we let go of comparing ourselves with the past or with others, we allow life to fill us with new meaning. Perhaps we cannot run as we once did, but we can walk slowly with awareness. Perhaps we cannot remember every detail, but we can speak words of kindness that linger in the heart of others. The Buddha's gentle teaching to the old monk reminds us that aging is not an ending, but a shift of purpose. It is a time to embody peace, to guide through example, and to show that contentment is possible even when life feels emptied out. In later years, our lives are like the empty bowl, not useless, but ready to be filled with the nourishment of wisdom, gratitude, and compassion. 4. The story of the poisoned arrow, letting go of endless questions. One day, a man approached the Buddha with endless questions about the universe. Was it eternal or not eternal? Was the soul the same as the body or different? Did the Buddha exist after death or not? The Buddha listened patiently and then told him a parable. Imagine, the Buddha said, a man is struck by a poisoned arrow. His friends rush to find a doctor to remove it, but the man refuses, saying, "I will not allow the arrow to be pulled out until I know who shot it. Was he tall or short? From what village did he come? What kind of bow did he use?" By the time he has all his questions answered, the man will be dead. The Buddha explained that certain questions do not lead to liberation. They distract us, keeping us trapped in speculation instead of freeing us from suffering. For those over 60, this parable offers a powerful lesson. As we age, we often find ourselves asking endless why questions about life. Why did certain things happen to me? Why did I lose loved ones so soon? Why did my health decline? Why didn't I take another path when I was younger? These questions, while human, can keep us stuck. Like the man with the arrow, we become so entangled in seeking answers that we forget the most urgent task: to heal, to live, and to find peace right here and now. The Buddha was not dismissing curiosity. Rather, he was pointing to a deeper wisdom, that some questions do not liberate. Dwelling on them only prolongs our suffering. At 60 and beyond, we can choose to release the arrows of regret, guilt, and speculation. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen?" we can ask, "How can I live wisely with what has happened?" Instead of being trapped in past events, we can use our energy to cultivate compassion, mindfulness, and presence. Life after 60 often brings a sharper awareness of time. There is less of it ahead than behind. The story of the poisoned arrow reminds us to use this time well, to stop delaying our healing, to pull out the arrow of needless questioning, and to care for the wound with patience and love. The Buddha's teaching is clear. Liberation is not found in knowing all the answers. It is found in ending suffering, in being free from attachment, and in living each day with clarity and kindness. When we learn to let go of the endless why and instead focus on the how to live, how to love, how to let go, we find a deeper peace, one that makes the later years of life not a burden, but a blessing. 5. The story of the swan and Devadatta, the wisdom of compassion. When the Buddha was a young prince named Siddhartha, he once saw a beautiful swan fall from the sky, struck by an arrow. The bird landed trembling near him. Siddhartha rushed to its side, gently pulling out the arrow and tending to its wound. Just as he did this, his cousin Devadatta appeared, bow in hand, and declared, "That swan is mine. I shot it. Return it to me." Siddhartha refused, saying, "The swan belongs to the one who wishes to protect its life, not to the one who seeks to destroy it." The two cousins argued until they were brought before the wise king for judgment. The king listened to both and then declared, "Life belongs to those who protect it, not to those who harm it. The swan stays with Siddhartha." This story remained in the heart of Siddhartha, and later, as the Buddha, he taught that compassion is the foundation of true wisdom. For those in the later stages of life, this story is a mirror. At 60 and beyond, many people wonder what remains truly important. Is it wealth? Is it recognition? The story of the swan answers simply, it is compassion. Our capacity to feel for others, to relieve suffering where we can, is the greatest gift of age. When we are younger, we may pursue ambition, power, or possessions. But as we grow older, we begin to see that only kindness endures. The Buddha himself showed that compassion is stronger than any arrow, any claim of ownership, any attempt at control. After 60, many carry the weight of life's struggles, loss of loved ones, declining health, worries about the future. But compassion transforms this weight into light. By caring for others, we ease our own burden. By being gentle with ourselves, we soften the sharp edges of regret and disappointment. Compassion also becomes our legacy. Younger generations may not remember the details of our achievements, but they will always remember how we treated them, how we listened, how we cared. In this way, the wisdom of compassion outlives even the body. The story of Siddhartha and the swan teaches us that protecting life, whether it is the life of a bird, a neighbor, or even our own fragile body, is a noble act. To live after 60 with compassion means to honor every breath, every friendship, every fleeting moment of kindness. And just as the swan flew again after being healed, our own spirit takes flight when touched by compassion. It is never too late to heal, never too late to care, never too late to choose love over harm. 6. The story of the Buddha and the angry man, the freedom of forgiveness. One day, as the Buddha walked calmly with his disciples, an angry man approached him. The man shouted insults, cursed his name, and tried to humiliate him before the crowd. The Buddha listened quietly. When the man finished, the Buddha asked him a simple question. If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong? The man, surprised, replied, "It remains with the one who offered it." "Just so," said the Buddha. "Your anger, your insults are gifts I do not accept. They remain with you." The man was stunned into silence. His fury dissolved, replaced by confusion and reflection. In that moment, he realized the futility of his hatred. This story is one of the most powerful teachings on forgiveness. The Buddha shows us that we are not obliged to accept the anger, bitterness, or cruelty of others. We can choose not to carry it. For those in their later years, this teaching shines brightly. After 60, many of us carry heavy baggage, old wounds from family, friendships broken, words spoken in anger long ago. These memories can harden the heart, making us bitter. But forgiveness is the key to freedom. Forgiveness is not about approving harmful behavior, nor is it about forgetting. It is about refusing to carry another's anger within ourselves. Like the Buddha, we can leave the gift of insult where it belongs, with the one who offered it. Imagine entering the final decades of life without the weight of grudges. Imagine the lightness of spirit that comes from releasing resentment. This is the freedom forgiveness offers. The Buddha's response also teaches us self-mastery. Anger is like fire. It burns most fiercely the one who holds it. To forgive is not weakness, but strength. It is the power to stop the cycle of suffering. After 60, forgiveness becomes a doorway to peace. By forgiving, we reclaim our inner space for joy, for calm, for connection. we discover that nothing others say or do can disturb the deep well of serenity within unless we allow it. This is perhaps one of the greatest lessons the Buddha left us, that peace is not dependent on what others do. It is born from how we choose to respond. When we forgive, we do not erase the past. We transform it. We take the arrows of anger and turn them into seeds of compassion. We show the world and ourselves that the later years of life are not a time of bitterness, but of liberation. We have walked together through 6 stories of the Buddha, Kisa Gotami and the truth of letting go, Angulimala and the power of transformation, the old monk with the empty bowl and the wisdom of contentment, the man with the poisoned arrow and the need to release endless questions, Siddhartha's compassion for the swan, and the Buddha's teaching on forgiveness in the face of anger. Each story carries a light for those who are over 60, guiding us to see that aging is not an end, but a new beginning of wisdom. The Buddha's teachings remind us that letting go opens the heart to peace. Transformation is always possible, no matter our age. Our value does not vanish with time, it changes form. Endless questions may distract us, but healing is always urgent. Compassion is the greatest legacy we can leave. Forgiveness frees us more than it frees anyone else. Life after 60 can be filled with clarity, purpose, and serenity. These years are not about clinging to the past or fearing the future, but about embracing each moment as an opportunity to live wisely and to love deeply. As the Buddha said, just as a candle cannot burn without fire, men cannot live without a spiritual life. May these stories inspire you to walk your remaining years with gentleness, courage, and compassion. May you find peace not in what you hold on to, but in what you let go.